This is Political Core, the non-PC edition of The Aaron Cruz Show, where you decide the topics. The only place where you get the news you want from the people you trust. We are your balanced and accurate information resource.
Good evening and welcome to the Aaron Cruz Show. This is Political Core. We are coming to you from Palm Springs, California. This is your hostess, Aaron Cruz. Thank you for joining me. So tonight we have a bit of a doozy. We have a title for this name that is just something else. It's called Hillary Clinton Gone Rogue. Russia, Russia, Russia. We want your guns, guns, guns. This one's for Vegas, baby. I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to give you a rundown of what this tragedy has brought. I know it's been all over the news, and our hearts just go out for the victims and the family and friends of the Nevadan community, city of Vegas. It's just heartbreaking, and being that it's I'd like to give a little bit of time here, being that Vegas, it's a tourist spot. There are so many people that had come from out of town to visit and go to this large event, which was tens of thousands of people in attendance, and it touches home. I'm in Palm Springs, California, and even in San Diego and other areas, there are many, many, many communities who are touched just at their core. Even one of my own best girlfriends, her son was supposed to be in Vegas that horrid day when this tragedy had happened, and he had ended up going the weekend prior. Praise the Lord. But for those who were there, it's just such a tragedy. I would like to take a minute and say to all the families that are affected, our hearts as Americans, our hearts are with you. Our prayers are with you. For those you lost, just reach out to those around you. We're here for you. And to those who may not have lost a loved one, but have somebody who is injured, we're here for you. We're praying for you and for your family and your friends. And this is something that I say about all of the horrid acts that are done worldwide. I know I spoke about this a little bit with Manchester. Anytime you have an event like this, it's not just the loss, the people who died, or the families of the people who died who are affected and touched. It's those hearts and minds that were there witnessing this event, who were impacted by the visual and audio stimulus, the tragedy, the fear, and then all of those who love those people and care, those of us who watched from afar and could do nothing, and we see those images and we hear the stories, we're affected too. And unless you're a CBS reporter who had no sympathy for the Trump supporters who were impacted, if you are a regular American citizen, or even just a citizen of the world, a human with a heart and a soul, compassion, you're touched. You can't help but be touched and feel like you want to do something for those who were affected. And that's only normal. So everybody, who's heard of this has been touched in one way or the other, unless you're a callous soul, which point, I really don't know what to say except for, you really need to work on yourself. But yes, we're here for you. And there are many resources that are available to you. I'll go ahead and I'll put those inside of the comments in the rest of the show for you, and you can use those as a resource as well. There are also hot tip hotlines that you can call if you have any information that might be useful about the case that they're working on. We're going to talk a little bit tonight about the event in Las Vegas. We are. I'm going to give me just a minute here. I'm having to pull up the document, which has all my notes. They've completely shut down, so give me a minute. Let's see here. Give me a minute. All right. So if you're just joining us, we're talking a little bit tonight about Hillary Clinton. And she has gone rogue. I mean, I wanted to have this talk with you this last week because I had a planned show for us, and I was really looking forward to sharing with you about just Hillary Clinton. She's so out of touch. And so what I wanted to talk to you about her was that she basically has gone on her book tour, all right, talking about why she lost the election. And I'm telling you, it's like Russia, Russia, Russia. She blames anything and everything on everything and anything but herself. She can't look in the darn mirror and say, this strategy was off. We should have, or we could have done this better. If she were to be president, would you want somebody that was pointing a finger everywhere else? I mean, this is just totally where it's at right here, okay? She is pointing everywhere but herself. The point is if she were to be president, we would like to be hearing from her. This is why she's not president, okay? It's not because I'm a woman and I voted elsewhere because I don't have a mind and I can't think for myself. It's because I have a mind and I can think for myself, and I saw the kind of person she was and the record she has, and I decided that is not somebody who I want as my president. It's not. Okay? And so, but when we look at her and she's, she cannot say, look, this strategy, that we used, XYZ, it didn't work. And we could have done this better, XYZ, better. But she didn't. She had to go around and blame women. Okay, isn't this the woman who says that women are powerful and we're stronger together and, all of this. I hear like the vomit spewing out of her mouth about women empowerment, and yet she degrades, the women who voted for Donald Trump, and I'm going to tell you there were a lot of them, okay, including me. And I would have to say that I think I'm a little bit smarter than the average Jane voter. I do have a bit of information in my brain, and I'm just a lover of country, and I didn't take the vote lightly, and no, I didn't waste my vote in voting for a man, and do so because I don't have a brain. So in any case, she points out in every way possible how basically every way that she could have lost, which has absolutely nothing to do with why she lost. And one of those things is Russia, Russia, Russia. I mean, how long can you just go on the non-story of stories about something that still has yet to be proven? Okay, they're wasting millions of dollars on this Russia investigation. And the only person who I know to have long-standing deep ties to the Russian government would be Hillary Clinton herself. Now, I'm not saying that Donald Trump doesn't know people in Russia, dignitaries in Russia, perhaps. I mean, we're talking about, when we talk about people like Hillary Clinton, even senators, past presidents, we're talking about, high-level people in government. even academics, those individuals are in circles which are small international circles, and everybody kind of knows everybody. And you have to expect that, these people, hopefully they make good choices, and they are, respecter of the law. I can't say so much for Hillary Clinton, but respecters of the law, and make the right choices. But in Hillary Clinton's case, and in Donald Trump's case, I believe we have two separate categories as it relates to Russia. All right. Trump has businesses. He does operations. He travels. He does his work, making the dollar bill. Okay, fine. He needs to do that as a businessman. Okay, and business can be political. Of course, he was a supporter of Hillary Clinton, or the Clintons, should I say, not Hillary Clinton, Clintons at one point, or at least hung out with them. We've seen pictures. But as Hillary Clinton stands, all right, you have to remember her husband was president of the United States of America. She knows a lot of political people and a lot of dignitaries in different nations. And in her position as Secretary of State, she also had certain dealings, which had to do with certain uranium stores within the United States. And as we roll back from her position as Secretary of State, and we roll back to when she was wife of the president in service to the United States, Bill Clinton, Bill Clinton also had connections to certain activities which were related to those same people in Russia, and different corporations and dealings. Now, we've supposedly had an investigation into, I don't even know if you'd call it an investigation. I mean, when you read all of the news articles as it relates to Uranium One, which is the massive deal, which is, I think, comprised of 30% of American stores of uranium within the United States. 100% of that holding and share is owned by Russia now, and as it turns out, over the last couple decades, the relationships between Bill Clinton, the Clinton Foundation, and other ties with big conglomerates, as well as individuals donating to the Clinton Foundation, there's a huge money shovel. And nobody has been really successful at tying it down to something that's unlawful. But as we look at the money that the Clintons have received over a period of time in their foundation, and donations from certain individuals, one can't help but question the ties to the transitional uranium one. And I did a huge show on this just not that long ago, about Russia, and Hillary Clinton. And you can go back and listen to it and read the documentation. It's really quite interesting. But the point is that this started from a partially owned conglomerate of Russia, and now it's 100% owned by Russia, which would be 30% of our uranium stores. I believe it is 30%. And called the company is called Uranium One. And Hillary Clinton has absolute deep-bedded, long-term, built relational ties to Russia. Russia. So if anybody should be going Russia, shouldn't have anything to do with election results and Donald Trump. It should have to do with Hillary Clinton and her possible bad dealings, okay? And I want to say Russia, and tie this into guns, because here Hillary Clinton is pointing at Russia as it relates to another person. And rather, she should be pointing at Russia and saying, yeah, I'm the one who has the ties, baby. And yet she's not. She's using it as a distraction technique, using it as a blame game, using it as a tool to tear apart our nation and cause divide, using it to manipulate our government in terms of this investigation that's gone on and on and on to investigate things that aren't even there. You talk about McCarthy files. I mean, McCarthy files were sealed for 50 years, and they actually had substantiated the fact that the communists were here. People were operating within our government who were, members of the Communist Party, and they couldn't find any fault. Yet they lock these files up for 50 years, and they call it a witch hunt. Well, I'm going to tell you, the communists are here, alive and well, and operating within our government, and operating right in plain sight. Okay? And the Mueller guy who's spending the money, basically ranking in as many months as he can of his own paycheck to do this investigation into Donald Trump and ties to Russia, which are just completely without fault. I wish that money was put into ties to Hillary Clinton to Russia, but that's, apparently she's one of the untouchables. And hopefully I pretty much called her out. Hopefully it's not a problem, and hopefully I'm alive tomorrow. But nonetheless, she's just a piece of work, and I wish he would be spending this time and money, taxpayer money, to really find the good ties to Russia, which could be substantiated, and instead of, chasing a tail that he's never going to catch, because it's not there. And so there you have it. Hillary Clinton is after Russia, using distraction techniques. What happens with Las Vegas? All right. I mean, I feel for the people of Las Vegas. They're being used as a tool to disarm the American people. Now, what we have is a gunman, Stephen Paddock, all right, and there are some wild and crazy, and many people say unfounded, learnings about this man and his background, his father's background, believed to be nefarious type guy. His dad wanted by the FBI, etc. This guy, Stephen, who committed the atrocity, the huge massacre in Las Vegas, Wednesday. Was it Wednesday? I can't even keep track now. The other day, so today is Monday, Sunday, Saturday. Oh, this is terrible. I can't even think. I mean, I'm completely carbunkled. Stephen, he basically, the claim is that he alone took guns and from high-story room shot American people. Okay? Basically knocked out part of a window because the windows don't open, and opened fire. And as you watch the video, or listen to the video, should I say, it just, your heart echoes listening. I've listened to it over and over and over again, and it just, your heart goes out to the people. But what I am most upset about, okay, is that supposedly, and some more information has come out about how many guns this guy had up there, what kinds of guns has not been widely discussed. We know that he had modified guns, illegal arms, which shouldn't have been there. What we know is that when the SWAT came in, he was dead. He had supposedly and allegedly taken his own life before they came in the room. Now, I have said over and over and over again, until we have all the facts, we just don't know. Most of this, what we have is speculation. Even the reports from reporters are widely spanned, and it's unclear where the truth lies. as it relates to the events that took place. What we know is that someone or some people took part and shot on American people and killed what looks to be more than 60 individuals and over 500 injured. And what we know is that Stephen Paddock was dead on arrival. Okay, the SWAT team. And what we also know is that he was looked and found to be looking drunk at the bar. That was another discussion that I had with an individual and about this event. And the question is this: did Stephen Paddock actually accumulate guns for more than 20 years? His brother can't even believe that his own brother Stephen would take place in part in such a scheme. Now, what also we know is that Stephen did, while he was involved, he was a Democrat, and what looks reportedly to be that he was involved with certain protests on the left. Doesn't mean he's violent. There are plenty of, and I'm gonna put this out there, and I know many might not agree with me. There are plenty of Democrats who take part in protests, peaceful protests. We may not agree with it. We may not agree with their hats. We may not agree with their signs. We may think it's ridiculous. They may think we're ridiculous, but they would not take part in a violent act of any sort, be it, damaging a property or anything else. They're out there to hold signs. They're out there to peacefully protest and engage in their First Amendment rights. That's fine. And so to assume because one is part of the Democrat Party, one is part of the Republican Party, or one is an independent, and because they took part in that, they could then be involved in something like this, that is absolutely wrong. There are millions of peaceful protesters who've come to D.C. and marched and not taken part in any sort of illegal activities or violence or intimidation, any sort of anything like that. And while we don't agree with one another, the point is this: is you can't just say because he's a Democrat or she's a Republican or he's a Republican or she's a Democrat, they would do such a thing as kill dozens of people and wound hundreds. No. Now, the one thing I will mention, which I've spoken to several retired law enforcement, specialized law enforcement, and military, retired military, off the record, and anonymously, and their assessment, and I'll lump it into one, from my gatherings, from what they've said, is this: is it absolutely possible? Is it absolutely possible that one person could do so much harm using guns from one room? And the consensus is, it is absolutely possible, highly unlikely. That's the reference I've gotten from these individuals. Of course, something like, saying that was more than one person, it's all speculation. What the media is telling us, what law enforcement is releasing, is that it is one person, and I find that very difficult to believe. I am a lay person. I have no background in military or law enforcement. I know many of them. I've studied and watched and observed and done research for 10 years on different areas and policies and procedures and evaluation and analysis and of different situations and networking and resource work with individuals in law enforcement and military, off the record, of course, and mainly from a patriotic and activist standpoint. And given that information that I've learned over a period of time, and possibly my own perception of the situation, is that I find it very unlikely that a person with Pollock's background, 60 some odd years old, okay, nothing more than a traffic ticket, no real violent background necessarily, psychiatric issues perhaps, nothing enough to get him in jail or in trouble. Obviously, he has no record. He doesn't have any sort of weapons training necessarily, though some are trying to argue he might. To see that this kind of person could put together such an elaborate scheme, choosing a room which is positioned in the exact point which he would need to optimize his ability to shoot and hit as many targets as he could, being able to breach the window without anybody in the hotel knowing, being able to carry out the arms, basically the arms training and knowledge about these guns. Okay, it's I don't know, I cannot find anything concrete, and maybe I'm looking in the wrong places, but from everybody that I'm reading, it's he said, she said, they said, and I can't find anything concrete, and I always am hesitant to say anything, absolute without evidence. But given what's being said about the guns he had, any sort of modifications you do to a gun, if you were to buy it legally and you were to have a registered weapon and you do modifications that make that registered weapon go from, say, semi-automatic to fully automatic, is illegal. That's what I've been told from retired law enforcement officials. And, it takes a substantial amount of training to be able to do those kinds of modifications, and also it takes connections in order to buy those sorts of materials, because those materials, obviously, for very specific reasons they're illegal, are widely watched. And, then you have the position of illegal weapons, illegal automatic weapons, which would have to be purchased on the black market, okay? And we're talking about a lot of money here. And it's not even just the amount of money, because supposedly Pollock had he had his cash. It's not necessarily just about the money. You have to be able to put your fingers on these kinds of things, these kinds of weapons, and that means connections. And so where does a person, and not just connections, we're talking about people who have connections. So I have connections to people who are lawful citizens, and they have a love of country, and they are not people who you would find breaking laws or even helping people to break laws, okay? We're talking about connections that this guy had to people who had the ability to provide either, weapons that were completely illegal and automatic and that he shouldn't have had at a high dollar bill, to, providing him with materials to modify the weapons he already had. Now, that takes a lot. Takes trust, takes relationships, takes those connections, again, like I said. And I find it very hard to believe, with just a basic political background and, and no real military draw, that this guy would have those types of connections. And now I remain to be proved wrong. I could be wrong. Maybe the family does have connections. Maybe they're complete liars. Maybe there are things that we're not aware of. But the one part that bothers me the most about this whole deal with Pollock, okay, with Stephen Pollock, and who I think may be a fall guy. What I have the biggest problem with is, why do you take more than 10 guns? Why do you take near a dozen guns? Some people say there was 10 bags and 20 guns. I don't know what to believe until you read an actual report, which I would love to see actual reports. But Why do you take a dozen guns? 10 guns, something, some reports are saying, or not reports, some articles are saying. Okay, why do you take 10? You need 2 and lots of clips, okay? And you may not have high, your clips may not have high magazine count. You just keep snapping them in. So you bring an extra gun or 2, maybe 2, maybe you bring 3 guns. But the thing is this, why do you need so many guns? You're only going to be up there for a short period of time before they find where you're at and they come and shoot you, okay? Or take you down, whatever it is. I mean, this guy had too many guns, too well positioned. Like I've said before, it just, that many guns does not pass the sniff test. It just doesn't. It says amateur all over it, which is not what the position of his hotel room says, which is not what actually having those guns and supposedly collecting those guns over a period of time says, because clearly if you have those guns and you have that training and and you find the right hotel room and the right da-da-da and the right time and the right, event and everything else, I mean, in a short period of time, it had to be under 9 months because President Trump became president, right? I mean, it's just, to me, it doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. It stinks. It stinks like a raw fish sitting on a hot sidewalk for days. I mean, it stinks foul. So I know I've been accused of, Sandy Hook. I really have a problem with the whole Sandy Hook thing, and you may or may not agree with me. And I've been accused of having kind of a conspiracy theorist type position on things. But my position really is this. Sometimes situations are so simple you can't see it because you overcomplicate it. And sometimes things are just so out there and complicated. You want to look at the simplistic, the easy, the obvious. And that's just not it. And this is one of those cases, I believe. This is one of those cases where I believe, and I could be wrong, and I it would be great to know that he's just one lone guy who's now not unfortunately he's dead. We don't have any testimony from him, which is many times the case with some of these things, which I also have a problem with. He's dead. We can't interview him, but he's just one person and now he's gone and he won't ever be able to do this again. Unfortunately, I do not believe that this is the case. I believe there are people who helped him. Either way, even if he isn't a fall guy, even if he isn't a fall guy and he is at fault, there are people who helped him and they need to be brought to justice. And if that's not the case, if he is not the person and he's just a fall guy and there is actually a larger picture here, a larger platform that's done this atrocity to the American people, those people need to be brought to justice. The few items that I have said and I've called for that I would like to see, whose fingerprints are all over the bullets, all over those guns? Are his fingerprints all over the guns? Did he have on his person blowback from those guns? Because when you shoot a gun, I mean, there's going to be evidence you were party to that event. I would also like to know if there was anything in his bloodstream. Okay, what if he was at the bar or whatever he was doing and he comes up to his room and of course maybe he was drugged. Maybe, he's a big guy. Comes into his room, they give him a little something at the bar and he goes up to his room and they take him down and he's easier to topple. They do the atrocity, they kill him, they leave him there. Yeah, it's quite possible. There are a lot of different things this can be, but I will tell you what. The one thing that I see is that Hillary Clinton has taken no time to just blame guns. She went right. It's like Russia. She went right from not blaming Polak, not blaming the guns, not blaming anything else. She went right to the NRA and blamed the NRA for this whole event. And she basically said, we need to stop people like the NRA, and we need to take away the guns. Guns, 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 guns. And I'm going to tell you what, people like Hillary Clinton, people that want to take our guns, need to be stopped. Because the citizens who should have the guns need the guns. The people who are like this, who have either psych issues, or who are crazy, or who do illegal acts, those are the people who you cannot stop. You cannot outsmart them. If they want to do harm, they're going to find a way. It's not going to be guns, it'll be knives. If it's not knives, it's going to be their hands. If it's not their hands, it's their hands moving a car. You name it, they're going to find a way to hurt people. You cannot stop illegal acts of harm by people who have malice in their hearts toward others. The best thing you can do is watch and observe and report something if you see it. See something, say something. You don't have to be a tattletale, but sure, there are situations when people need to report what they see, and help people who may be depressed. If you know they have a gun, you can reach out and you can say, hey, I really think this is a concern to family or what have you, and talk to one another. But I'm going to tell you what, you cannot legislate guns out of the hands of citizens, American citizens. You can't. You can't, because every nation who has a dictator has one thing in common. They're unarmed and unable to fight the rulers and dictators, the totalitarian regimes that control them. The government is the only party who has power via gun, has the ability to quench those people and their ability to take back their nation. So yes, American citizens, we cannot give up our guns. We cannot give up arms. 2A has to be protected. And it's not just about hunting. It's also about protecting the citizenry, defending our homestead, defending our families, protecting them against an overpowerful government, as well as criminals, which are rampant. As a woman, I completely believe this and support this. I myself, I've told you this before, I don't own guns, but I fully support everyone's right and ability to own them. If you're an American citizen and you are a lawful citizen, you should be able to own a gun. You need to go through the process of your state and get one if that's what you choose. If it's not what you choose, you should choose your ability to defend your home and your person that best matches what you need. In any case, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for tonight. I want to thank you for joining me. I'll put all of the descriptors, all of the resources in the comments after I post the show. Tonight, please give your congressperson a call and tell them what you feel about 2A and your rights to own weapons, as well as 1A and your freedom of speech. 202-224-3121, 202-224-3121, house.gov or senate.gov. You can also look up other resources on my website at erinCruz.com or send me an email and inquiry to info@erinCruz.com. Be sure to like me on social media, Political Core for the Erin Cruz Show, and also my Everything Politics is Wagner Girlie, WAGNERGIRLE. As always, we want to grow together to find common solutions, to find common ground. I'll answer any questions I can. Do not hesitate to reach out. We are in this together, all right? Really, we are. United we stand, baby. So thank you again for joining me, Erin Cruz, on Political Core, the Erin Cruz Show. Join me again Thursday evening, 7 to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for the Queen of Politics, where we have a bit of fun while we talk the issues, always with information you can use to make positive change in your community, in your state, and in the nation. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a blessed evening. God bless you, and God bless America.
To hear more and to learn more on how you can make an impact, or about Political Core and the Erin Cruz Show, visit us online at erincruz.com. That's ERINCRUZ.com. Thank you for joining us, and see you at the same time and the same place next week.